Hello everybody and welcome to our very first ever Key Stage 3 online science lesson from Buell Hill. Today's lesson is on atoms, elements and compounds and is relevant for years 7, 8 and 9. By the end of the lesson, hopefully we're going to know that all substances are made up of atoms. We're going to be able to distinguish between elements and compounds, and then we're going to take it a little bit further and we're going to identify the number of atoms that make up a single compound. The whole universe is made up of lots and lots of different substances, and on the screen at the moment you can see some random pictures of different types of substances. So we've got a shell, we've got some neon lights, we've got a picture of a dart, some bricks, we've got some clouds in the atmosphere, and we've also got a picture of a virus, the coronavirus. And the thing about all those substances is they're all incredibly similar because they're all made up of atoms. And it's a little bit like building Lego. If you have lots and lots of different Lego, and if you choose to put those Lego bricks in a certain order or in a certain, or use different types of bricks, so you could use yellow ones or blue ones, and sometimes you might use white ones or red ones, and the order that you put them together determines the kind of substance or the thing that you can make. And atoms are exactly the same. Now, all those substances that atoms can make when they join together can fall into two categories. They can either be elements or compounds, and we're going to explore what makes up each one. So the picture we've got on the screen at the moment is a picture of a gold ring. Now if we used to zoom in so that we could see the atoms that make up that gold ring, we'd see a picture that looks very similar to that. And each one of those circles or each one of those particles is an individual atom, an individual gold atom. Now this tells me that gold is an element, and the reason that gold is an element is because it's actually only made up of one type of atom. If you look at the diagram again, they're all the same size, the atoms are the same size and they're the same colour. So that quite clearly shows me that they are the same atom. So therefore gold is an element. Now the picture that's just appeared on the screen looks very similar to the one for gold, but you can see this time we've got two distinct colours. So we've got two distinct types of atom. We've got those grey atoms and we've got those green atoms. So therefore that is a diagram of a compound, and a compound's definition could be given by a substance that is made up of two or more types of atom. So before we move on, if we look at the diagrams again, the one on the left of gold is an element because it's made up of only one type of atom, whereas the one on the right, although it looks similar, is actually a compound because it's made up of two different types of atom. Okay, so I want you to look closely at the diagram that's appeared on the screen. And my question for you is very, very simple. Is that a picture or a diagram of an element or a compound? Now hopefully you said that it was a compound, but can you describe why? Because this is the next step that we need to take. It is a compound, and the reason it's a compound is it's actually made up of two or more elements. It's made up of the red element and it's made up of the white element. Let's describe it a little better than that. It's a compound, but it's made up of two atoms of white and it's made up of one atom of red. And if we take it a little further even, we can say that that compound is made up of three atoms in total. If you add the two white ones and the red one together, we get three. Okay, so we've got another compound on the screen at the moment, and it's very similar to the one on the previous slide, only just a little bit more complicated. The question is, describe fully the compound in the diagram. What I'm going to ask you to do in a second is I'm going to ask you to pause the video, and I'm going to ask you on a piece of paper and a pen, I'm going to ask you to write down your answer. And once you've done that, you can restart the video and I will go through the answer. So could you please pause the video now? Okay, so the first thing that we could say about that compound is that it's made up of three different types of element. It's made up of blue, it's made up of black, and it's made up of red. We can go a little bit further than that, can't we? We're a bit better than that. And we could actually say that it's made up of two atoms of black, it's made up of one atom of red, and it's made up of 6 atoms of blue. And the final thing that we could say is we could describe the total number of atoms in that compound. And so the answer to that part would be 9, because if you add 6 and 2 and 1 together, we can see that we've got 9 atoms in that compound in total. Well done if you did that, if you got that correct. Okay, we've got one final step to take in this lesson. I've left the diagram of the compound from the previous question on the screen, but I've now written its name, and its name is ethanol. And if I was to write it in chemical symbols, ethanol looks like this: C2H5OH. And we're going to move away from using the diagram, and we're going to talk now about atoms, elements, and compounds in terms of those symbols. So what does that tell me, C2H5OH? Well, it now tells me that compound ethanol is made up of 3 different types of element. It's made up of the element C, which is carbon. It's made up of the element H, which is hydrogen, and it's made up of the element O, which is oxygen. Don't worry about the final H, it's still hydrogen, so there are only actually 3 different types of element in that compound. It also tells me that compound is made up of 2 atoms of carbon. That little 2 after the C tells me that there are 2 C's in the compound. It also tells me there is 1 atom of oxygen. So I missed out the H for a second and I've moved to the O. There is no number after the O. So that means that there is only 1 atom of oxygen. Now if we look at the compound, it says H5 and then another H. So that's 5 H's added to another H, which means that compound contains 6 atoms of hydrogen. And the final thing that those symbols tell me is that there are 9 atoms in total in that compound. There are 6 H's, 1 O, and 2 C's. Okay, so what I'd like you to do in a second is I'd like you to pause the video again, and I'd like you to answer the 3 questions on the screen for the compound H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid. Once you pause the video and you've written your answers, if you restart the video, we'll go through the answers at that point. Okay, H2SO4 then is made up of 3 different types of elements. It's made up of hydrogen, H, sulfur, S, and oxygen, O. There are 2 atoms of hydrogen, there is 1 atom of sulfur, and there are 4 atoms of oxygen. Common mistake in this question is that people sometimes write that there are 4 S's. That 4 after the O only applies to the O. There is no number after S, so therefore there is only 1 atom of sulfur. And in total, there are 7 atoms in that compound. We just add them together. 2 hydrogens, 1 sulfur, and 4 oxygens is 7 atoms in total. So well done if you got that right. Okay, well done. You made it to the final question, the final slide of this lesson. And in a short while, I'm going to ask you to pause the video again and make a copy of the table as it is on the screen. I've left H2SO4, which was the question from the previous slide, on the table so that you understand how to set out your work. So when you're ready, if you pause the screen, make a copy of the table and answer the questions, and then we'll check our work together. Okay, well done. Here are the answers to the questions. And if you just check your work now, and if there is anything you don't understand about that, then please email your science teacher and we will go through it with you. Thank you for following the lesson on the video. I hope you found it really useful. Make sure you're following the Buell Hill Science Department on Instagram at Buell_Hill_science. And please keep your eyes peeled over the coming days for the next lesson. Take care, everybody.